I'd like to call to order the March meeting of the Bloomington Board of Parks Commissioners, and obviously we have a very different setup here today, so to comply with the governor's orders about public meetings, I'm here in the council chambers, and then our other members are available by video and audio. We're taking public comments today in 2 different places, on Facebook Live, or the comments can also be emailed to Paula McDevitt, the Parks Administrator, at mcdevitp@bloomington.in.gov. So, all right, so we will start with the consent calendar, which is the minutes, claims, non-reverting budget amendments, business report and surplus that we've all had for a few days. So do I have a motion? Yes. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, please, yeah.
Kathleen Mills.
Here.
Les Coyne.
Here.
Israel Herrera.
Here.
Okay. So if I could please have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Okay, do you want me to make a motion now?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, I move we approve the consent calendar as submitted.
All right.
Take on.
And we have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. All right. And because of the strange circumstances we find ourselves in, we don't have any awards today. We've shortened our agenda a little. We do have a public comment period that is always for items that are not on the later agenda. So I don't know if anything has come in yet on Facebook or email. 3, yes, okay. Okay, sure.
Kathleen, there is a few second delay.
Oh, okay. Right, okay. Okay, so we're gonna wait just a few minutes in case anyone needs some time to enter a comment. And again, these would be things that are not on the rest of today's agenda.
It's still difficult for me to hear, but barely get it. Let's go ahead. Just raise the finger if you want me to go ahead with the motion.
Okay.
Hey, Les.
Yeah.
So you're echoing pretty bad, and that's because I'm assuming you unplugged your headphones from the iPad.
Okay, no, I'm using a Bluetooth, so you want me to get rid of that?
Yeah, I would plug your headphones back to the iPad so you don't get that feedback loop. You don't have to use them. Just make sure they're plugged in.
Yeah, I'm turning them off now. Okay, they're on.
Great, thank you.
It didn't improve things. But I can't get the mic to light up
I
on
see.
the screen.
Just to respond to a couple of comments on Facebook that we do know Les's audio isn't great, and we're working on that here. So I don't see any other public comments that are unrelated to things on the agenda, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to C1, which is review of the 2020 food and beverage artisan fees. Becky Higgins.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Staff recommends the approval of the 7.5% of gross sale fee for the 2020 food and beverage artisans, including food carts, push cart vending. Staff has recommended different options for the food and beverage artisans pricing over the past several months. Included with those options were farmers market financial reports from 2016 through the projected options for 2020. In February, several options, including 10% of gross, 7.5% of gross, 6% of gross, 5% of gross, and a flat fee were presented. The 7.5% is the result of the review of all proposed options and financial implications of each. The recommendation of 7.5% of gross sales is an estimated revenue of $39,000 and would equal approximately 37% of all revenue received. The estimated registration revenue received from vendors is $54,651 and would equal approximately 52% of the total revenue received. With these numbers, the deficit of a negative $50,764 and a cost recovery of 68% is projected.
Okay. All right. Do we have any questions or comments from board members before we go to public comments? Israel or Les, any questions or comments?
Israel, Les, do you have any questions regarding item agenda 1 or C1?
I do not.
I don't have it. Israel.
Okay. Israel, do you have any questions or comments?
I don't have any question.
Okay. All right. So we have received quite a few comments from vendors on this item. And since they are not permitted to be here today, I have conveyed that I am happy to read the comments here. So the first one is from Maria of Piccoli Dolci. It says, the COVID-19 emergency we are living is changing our lives and business every day. We do not know when we will be able to go back to normal, and the farmers market season is already compromised. Piccoli sales are reduced to the minimum, and we are not sure whether we will be able to pay rent and fixed expenses in the months ahead. Given this stressful uncertainty, we are afraid this year we will not be able to afford any fee based on the percentage of gross sales at market. When discussing FBA's 10% fee and market recovery system at previous meetings, we were looking at numbers and budgets of one of the most successful farmers markets in Indiana. Today, we need to discuss how to keep this market alive and how to help every vendor and farmer stay in business. Signing a contract for the full season based on a reality that does not exist anymore would be irresponsible from a business point of view. We asked the commissioners and Parks and Rec directors to reformulate our contract, adjusting it to the emergency, starting with a short-term contract, 4 to 8 weeks, at 0 fee for all vendors, or at an FBA fee equal to the farmer's one. Thank you. And then we have a comment from Louise at I'm sorry if I mangle anyone's names here. Louise at Pie First Bakery. As food and beverage artisans, we want to do everything we can to participate in and support the community market. For that to happen, we are asking all of you who are in decision-making positions to consider that all vendors, whether growers, farmers, or FBAs, are facing uncertainties that defy prediction. Bloomington has set itself apart from the rest of Indiana by having the oldest and largest outdoor community farmers market, and it has also defined itself by having an active and vital FBA group of vendors. In order for the market as a whole to survive these times, all vendors must be asked to participate on equal footing. As FBAs, we simply cannot be asked to provide the bulk of the market's revenue in order to ensure cost recovery. The cost recovery model is no longer appropriate in these times. Just as with our country's move from containment of the COVID-19 to mitigation, so too must the market move from cost recovery to market survivability. And in order for the market to survive, the vendors need to be given the best possible chances to survive as well. Therefore, we are asking 0 fees for all vendors for April through May, and then apply the same fee structure that farmers are afforded to us FBAs. All right, and Eric from Muddy Fork Bakery and Farm, we as food and beverage artisans hold the Bloomington Community Farmers Market dear to our hearts. We have great respect and appreciation for the work of the market staff and city in creating, nurturing, and building this great farmers market. We appreciate that our calls for restructuring of the fees have been heard and that the Parks Board planned to move ahead with steps in that direction for 2020. In the last 2 weeks, the world has come crashing down around us. It now seems likely that the Bloomington Community Farmers Market will be coordinating only prepaid pickup orders for the next 2 months. There will be no hot foods or drinks, no on-site cooking, and that may continue beyond the next 2 months. There will be no music or events at market for the foreseeable future. We have no idea when the market may return to normal operations, even if that even happens this season. Meanwhile, many of us who operate restaurants or stores have shuttered, or nearly so, and many of the rest of us who depend on sales to restaurants have seen our sales plummet. Like all of the restaurants in Bloomington, we are hanging by a thread, hoping we can keep paying the bills long enough to survive the next few months. We are in a position for the next few months where we cannot afford to pay 500% to 800% of what farm vendors are paying, while our options for sales, both inside and outside the market, are vastly curtailed. We won't be in a position, should market return to normal in June, July, or August, to pay that much then. We will be desperately catching up on past due expenses and recovering lost income from the spring. We are asking for an adjustment that suits this emergency. Please charge us the same as the farm vendors for the 2020 season. Many of us will not be able to sell and will likely go out of business without this change. We realize the Parks budget will be hit hard, and we realize Parks is already losing thousands of dollars in user fees, and we appreciate the value of every Parks program. We also must all accept that even if the 7.5% fee were adopted season long, the revenue target of $39,000 from FBA vendors is a fantasy. Our best estimate based on the last 2 weeks is our sales would hit 1/3 of projections at best. In practice, what we are asking for may not differ greatly from what we would actually be collected at 7.5 of sales. But what we need now, if we ever needed it, was certainty. There will be so much risk when we do return to normal market operations. A knowable, flat, affordable fee is the only survivable option for most of us. All right, and then Tracy of Scholars Inn Bakehouse, Tracy Bruce. Scholars Inn Bakehouse has enjoyed a presence at the market for well over a decade. We look forward to and enjoy each and every Saturday during the season. As we all know, the restaurant industry has been challenged greatly over the past few weeks. Hopefully in May and June, the restaurant industry will be in the process of recovery and hope, and my hope is the farmers market will take an active role in the recovery process. When it comes to fees, I don't believe any of the food and beverage artisans are asking for special treatment. I am simply asking for equal treatment. For the 2020 season, please assess a fee equal to non-FBA vendors. If you feel it necessary in 2021 to revert back to charging FBA vendors 200% to 300% higher fees, as you have done in previous years, then we can discuss. At this point, we are simply asking the city to be allies in the recovery, not an adversary. And the next comment is from Raji of Aha Chai. I thoroughly enjoy being part of the Bloomington Community Market, Farmers Market, to serve our customers with their chai needs every week. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 situation has severely affected the food and beverage industry and has brought our business sales to a bare minimum. With all doors for sales closed, we truly appreciate the opportunity for drive-through market at Bloomington for April and May. 90% of our sales at Farmers Market are from prepared food on site, serving ready to drink. Unfortunately, we will not be able to do this through a drive-through market. I am still committed to be part of the drive-through market to serve my customers in every possible way. To help us through this challenging time and situation, I strongly request you consider zero fee for all vendors for April-May markets. Even when we get back to normal after a few months, I am sure it will take the rest of the year for us to get back to normal financially. So I would request for us to pay the same fees as farmers for the rest of the season. We truly appreciate your consideration of this fee structure to support us through this toughest time. Thank you. There's a couple more. Yeah, sorry, I'm just pausing. It's so much more interesting when it's not just me listening to my own voice. It'd be nice to we could see these people. Okay, this is from Katie Mysowick of Need More Coffee Roasters. Due to the COVID-19 crisis, Need More Coffee Roasters has had to close our brick and mortar store for the foreseeable future. The proposed drive-through market set up for the months of April and May will drastically affect my sales. Over 90% of my sales at the Bloomington Community Farmers Market are beverages prepared on site. Not being able to prepare beverages on site gives me little reason to attend the market in April and May. If this were the case, I would want my contract to state that missing Saturdays will not be a strike against me. I would also only be able to consider participating in April and May if I am charged an equal fee as the farmers. In fact, for the entire 2020 market season, I would want to be charged the same equal fee as the farmers. And Meredith of Lick Ice Cream, we are so excited to be new vendors in Bloomington this season. Unfortunately, a lot of the exciting events are either being canceled or postponed for us, and as you can imagine, being a small business is really scary right now. Our retail shop is shut down, and we are trying to keep our head above water. This pandemic was obviously unexpected, but our bills still need to be paid. And from Nell of Sweet Claire Bakery, Nell Hostetter, this is part of what I wrote to several of the board members when we were trying to argue against the 10% fee. Now with the diminished operations and possible closure for a few weeks, even the 7.5% fee becomes a difficult expense to absorb. In 2019, we experienced heavy rains on April 20th, May 4th, June 18th, and 22nd. The market was shut down August 3rd and 10th because of the protests. The rain was so hard on October 26th, our last day at the market, that my booth only made less than $400, and of course the city still received the 10%. It was literally heartbreaking to throw away my baked goods in the trash, a week's worth of labor. The loss was not just about the money. The weather scenario repeats itself every year. I do track them on my spreadsheet. Other events also affect how long we sell at the market. Football games that start at 12 noon, Taste of Bloomington. The summer heat also affects attendance. My husband calls it the market lull when the market empties at noon. Why do I keep baking? It is a passion, and it has been my creative outlet for many years. I do not know how I would fill my months if I did not bake. I get deep personal satisfaction when customers stop me at the market and tell me how they love my bread. I am also lucky that I do not need my market income to support a family, but that is not a typical case with the rest of the food artisans. They do maintain businesses year-round to support their families. I do hope that you would give us special consideration this time around. Helping us survive another unexpected storm ensures the farmers market survives and thrives for many more years to come. All right, so those are the vendors' statements that have been emailed. Do we have any other comments via Facebook or Paula's email? Yes. Okay, oh. That was on Facebook? Oh, okay.
You have any comments on Facebook?
Let's see.
Pardon me?
I'm watching your activity.
Well,
Oh, yes, okay. Katie has reminded us, customer comment from Rob Fishman. And, okay, and the other comment here I see is MCCT listening about Shakespeare in the Park, but I'm not sure about that. Okay, let me get Rob Fishman's comment. Oh, here we go. Okay. I write to urge you to reject the recommendation of 7.5% fee for the food artisans contained in the memo from Ms. Higgins dated today. Ms. Higgins continues to ignore the Market Advisory Board concern about equity. In her March 24th memo, as with previous written communications, she addresses only the market revenue impacts. I believe that the revenue impacts are important for the department to consider, but it is not the exclusive consideration. The department has yet to respond to the advisory board's recommendation of 5% motivated by fairness concerns. I am unclear whether Ms. Higgins and the department disagree that fairness is important, but I do believe you should consider it. Thus far, the department's administrative record lacks any consideration of the fairness issue. I continue to be perplexed about why the department supports an advisory body if it does not respond to the body's recommendation. The department need not agree with the advisory recommendations. They are only advisory after all. But the department does need to explain its consideration of the advisory recommendations. It has not done that. Of course, this leaves the commissioners to piece together how to arrive at a fair solution. In the absence of any rational argument against the advisory committee's recommendation, I urge you to adopt it at 5%, with a mandate that the department comprehensively address all the fees associated with market in the coming year. Finally, the events of recent weeks have changed the financial viability of many of the food artisans. In recognition of these small businesses which currently provide tenuous employment opportunities, I suggest you adopt but then waive the fee entirely. That would recognize the financial recession depression we are sinking into, as well as the current outlook of the market being suspended by the county indefinitely. In these uncertain times, the long-term viability of the market might require a one-year investment in a larger operating deficit in order to make it financially feasible for the artisans to continue to vend, should market even be allowed to proceed, under restrictions that will depress sales. Thank you so much for your service in these difficult times, and that's from Rob Fishman. And let's just make sure we're not missing any other comments here. Okay. From Facebook, Jonas Carpenter, my wife and I are produce vendors at market. We hope the city will find a way to help food and beverage artisans during this financially difficult time, reduce their fees to be comparable to farmer fees until this health crisis is over. All right, Becky, do you want to, we're waiting to see if there's anything, do you want to respond to any of the comments there?
First, we're still evaluating how we move forward with all the COVID-19 restrictions that we have. So we look forward to putting out more information about that in the near future. But I would also like to say that what we do know for sure is however we move forward during this April period and during the COVID-19, we are not planning, we are not planning on charging either farm vendors or food and beverage artisans any fee for however we move forward. So I wanted to specify that first. And then second, to address the Farmers Market Advisory Council, I believe I did mention it in the past that we took their advice and took it into discussion, and our decision was made based on several different items, and we are very much dedicated to the review of the whole pricing system for 2021.
Okay, and so just to be clear, you're saying there wouldn't be a fee during if there's a reduced
Correct.
market with the, yeah.
Correct.
And this 7.5% would be, assuming we're back to the market we know and love, let's
Right.
say by July.
Right.
That would be, okay.
You know what, it's really a gesture to the food and beverage artisans that we hear you, we get it, we're going to lower the fees what we can for this season and reevaluate the whole thing for next year.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that explanation. Let me just refresh here, just make sure we're not missing any comments. Okay, and do we have any questions or comments from Les or from Israel?
No.
No comment from Israel.
Okay, well, I would just like to add, I mean, I do think it's very much a gesture of goodwill toward the vendors, and I totally understand how they're hurting. Just the little businesses in my own neighborhood, like the new Soma that opened up and Feta, and then are suddenly completely closed, and I understand the ripple effect of that. And I know there's still frustration even with the 7.5% if the market can reopen in a normal situation. I know even at that level, though, the department would be looking at a $51,000, almost $51,000 deficit. Now, that's assuming a market comes roaring back and is in good shape again. So I understand all of that. I also really appreciate just the desire to go and look at all the fees. That sounds like something that's everybody's asking for, and that sounds like an excellent idea. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and call for a motion on the 2020 food and beverage artisan fees, which I think is from Les, if Les can hear me.
I will move that we approve the proposal for the 2020 food and beverage arterial fees.
Okay, and just before we get a possible second here, I want to make sure, because Katie, who I think is possibly Eric is Katie. Hold on, I see a question up there, but I don't see it here. Hold on one second. Well, I thought I saw something here. It says, for Becky, what are the criteria for waiving fees? Is that what it says? I think so. Yes, okay. Do you want to, can you, during a COVID-19 restricted market,
Well, we're still developing what that's going to look like, what
Okay.
that market would look like. So we don't have a complete answer, except for to know that we are not going to charge any fees
Okay.
for food and beverage and/or farm vendors during that time. We recognize the need, and that's how we would like to reply to that.
okay. And obviously the details of how that kind of market will operate are, because everything is changing almost every day.
Every hour, so
yeah.
we are diligently working on that.
Okay. All right, that helps to know. Okay, and I'm gonna I see one more comment here, and then we'll go to Israel if he has a second on the motion. And I'm sorry, we're a little out of order here. This is just like juggling all these things. It says, Julie Gardner-Tobin, I'm afraid that many artisans vendors will not sign a contract for the year with the current unknowns. So she's offered that comment on Facebook. So, okay, with all of that, do we have, Israel, would you like to second Les's motion?
I second.
Okay, all right, and for the vote, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 In favor.
Okay, do we get everybody? We get,
Aye, in favor.
okay. All right, so the motion carries, and we all understand there are lots of details that'll have to be revisited there. So thank you, Becky. Yes, for that, and thank you for people who offered their comments in email and on Facebook. And we have a related item here. Marcia Veldman's also joining us via video. Review of the 2020 Food and Beverage Artisan Contract Template. Oh, Marcia's back. Hello.
Hello. Thanks for doing all this. Are you able to hear me okay?
Do you have your ear headphones on, plugged in? We're getting feedback.
one moment.
Also, if you turn off your video,
Okay, is that better?
that's much better.
Wonderful. All right, I am here to present the recommendation of approval for the food and beverage artisan and food truck push cart agreement templates. So these agreements relative to last year have been revised to include language that's consistent with the farm vendor contract handbook, including information on allowable size and artisan behavior and commitment to the market's mission. Both agreements have been reviewed and approved by city legal. At this point, I can answer questions if you have them, but I'm seeking your approval.
Okay. All right, yes, we've seen the contract template before. And do we have any questions or comments from Les or Israel?
I don't have any comment, Attorney Israel.
I don't have any.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion for approval of the contract template?
I will move that we approve the 2020 food and beverage artisan contract template.
And a second? Yes, okay, thank you, Israel. All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
I, Ronnie Wright.
Okay, motion carried. And Marcia is also going to tell us about item C3, review of the food and beverage artisans 2020.
All right, yes. We had a review committee that was made up of 3 farmers market advisory council members and 2 market staff that reviewed the proposals submitted. And to give you a little bit of background, on January 13th, we sent out a request for proposal to 66 individuals and organizations who had expressed interest in selling as artisanal food vendors at the market in the last 2 years. We also ran legal notices in the Herald Times. And in an effort to inform more of the public about this opportunity, we sent notice to Downtown Bloomington, the Bloomington Independent Restaurant Association, and to community and family resources, utilizing their network of community connections. So you have all received the proposals that were submitted and a copy of the RFP, which outlines the criteria by which the proposals were to be evaluated. 7 of the agreements from 2019 allowed for their continuation for 1 additional year, and 10 of the contracts terminated. We received, by the deadline that was established in the RFP, 17 proposals from business and individuals. If you like, I can go through in detail which of those are, or I can just read to you the names of the food and beverage artisans that the committee recommends. What is your preference?
Yes, I think if you could give us the names that are recommended, that would be great.
All right. So those are Brown County Coffee, East, Piccoli Dolce, Scholars and Bakehouse, Cezanne, Chris Foster's with Kettle Corn, Muddy Fork Farm and Bakery, Wild Alaska Salmon, Peely's Party Taco, Blooming Bowls, Aha Chai, Need More Coffee, Blooming Tea, Lick, Pfeiffer's Bakery, Three Dogs and a Mom, Sweet Claire, and Ana Leon Viveros.
Okay.
5 of those would be new vendors to the market. And additionally, the recommendation, the request is to allow staff to enter into agreements with applicants for the Tuesday market as we continue to explore the options at the Woodyard Park. So that is the recommendation, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Okay, all right, thank you for listing those vendors. And Israel and Les, do you have any questions about those?
No, it looks
Right.
easy to me. Good, a lot of repeat vendors.
Okay,
Can we talk about the,
I'm sorry, did Israel have a question?
yeah, the diversity? Do we have in that case Latino vendors, right?
I can't.
I understand it.
Yes.
This is Paula McDevitt, Director of the department, and we're monitoring feedback that we're getting from people who are watching, and we're getting feedback that they cannot hear Israel or Les's comments or questions. And once we get through this agenda item, they would also like the vote from that first agenda item, C1, repeated, because they did not hear it. So I'd like to suggest Les and Israel go ahead and comment, and then Kathleen, if you would repeat their comment, that would be very helpful, and then also repeat the vote. And then I would also suggest that you call on Les so that Les speaks, says questions or whatever, and then call on Israel. And for those of you who are watching and commenting, please comment and let us know that that is working out better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I'm afraid Israel had a question that we didn't get from a minute ago. I don't know if he can hear me or.
Israel, could you repeat your question, please?
No, not now, but
No? Okay. Okay, all right. So all right. So there was actually not a question there. And sorry for the patchy audio here. Okay, all right. So we will ask if Les would like to move approval of this. C3?
So moved.
All right. And do we have a second from Israel?
second.
Okay, we have a move, Les has moved approval, Israel has second. So all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, so we have 3 ayes there from each of the board members on the approval of the food and beverage artisans for the upcoming market. And there was also a request to, just to reiterate the vote on C1, which was the food and beverage artisan fees. So I think that vote was 3-0. Is that correct, Kim? Yes, on the first item. All right, and then, all right, thank you very much, Marcia, for detailing that.
You are welcome.
And then, just moving on, Becky has an item with Jazzercise.
Yes, staff recommends approval of the amendment to the 2019 Jazzercise Partnership Agreement. Potential revenue is approximately $600. And basically, this has been a long-term partnership with Jazzercise, and we just need a little bit more time working into the 2020 partnership agreement. So we are asking for an amendment to extend the 29 partnership till next month.
Okay, all right, pretty straightforward, a little bit more time to work that out. Any questions or comments from Israel or Les on Jazzercise C4?
None for me.
Okay, all right, and Israel, do you have any questions on item C4?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, so we have no questions from any of the board members on item C4. And Les, could we have a motion on that one?
Yes. I so move.
All right, Les moves approval of item C4, and Israel, a second.
Second.
All right, Israel has seconded, and all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so we have three ayes on item C4, approval of partnership agreement with Jazzercise. Yes, thanks. And then also Becky has one more, approval of partnership agreement with Plant a Row Partners.
Staff recommends approval of the partnership agreement with the Plant a Row program. The purpose of this agreement is to establish a partnership that encourages members of the community to share the bounty of gardens with local people in need of fresh, nutritious foods. Plant a Row partners include Hoosier Hills Food Bank, Mother Hubbard's Cupboard, Hilltop Gardens at Indiana University, and Blooming Foods. It is a national public service campaign that encourages farmers and gardeners to donate extra produce to local food pantries and food banks. And this partnership has been in place since 2002.
Okay, a wonderful program. Plant a Row Partners. All right, do we have any comments or questions from Israel or Les?
None for me.
No question here.
Okay, no comments from Israel or Les about item C5. So Les, do we have a motion for approval?
I will so move.
All right. Les moves approval, and Israel seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we have 3 ayes, and, so item C5 passes unanimously. All right, and then we move on to a couple of a contract and service agreement here. So Becky also has a HFI contract that we.
Theater is next.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yep, there it is.
So staff recommends approval of the partnership agreement with Monroe County Civic Theater. Rental fees to be deposited into account, and there's a potential, we include that just because if they decide to rent the bathrooms at the AJB or the Allison Jukebox building. This is the 31st year for this partnership between Bloomington Parks and Recreation and Monroe County Civic Theater. To share resources to provide Bloomington community with free performances of Shakespeare plays in the Waldron Hill and Buskirk Park. MCCT, Monroe County Civic Theater, is responsible for the production of the plays, while Bloomington Parks and Recreation provides assistance in the form of promotion of the event and the use of the park. There are no changes to this year's partnership agreement. The partnership allows for rehearsal and performance of Shakespeare in the park. And this year's performance will be All's Well That Ends Well, and will be held June 4th through Sunday, June 7th. The partnership also provides MCCT the ability to use the restrooms at the jukebox.
That'd be great. Did you say it's in June?
Yes.
If it was all's well that ends well, and we could just,
Fingers
we could just
crossed.
pick up the summer, and yes, that would be perfect. So, okay, longstanding program, 31 years with the Monroe County Civic Theater. Do you have any questions or comments from Les or Israel?
I have none.
Right, so when are the plays, okay, something?
It's scheduled to be in June.
And that would be for 1 year, right?
Yes, for 1 year.
Okay, and this is our third year, you say?
31st year.
Okay. No more questions?
Okay, all right, and so for people watching, listening, Israel asked when the performances would be, and the answer was in June, and he also asked how long the program had been going on, and the answer was this is the 31st year. So, all right, do we have a motion from Les on this item?
I'm pleased to so move.
All right, Les moved approval, and a second?
Second, Israel?
And Israel seconded, so all those in favor of the partnership agreement with Civic Theater, please say aye. Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and we have a vote of three yes votes on that item, passes unanimously. And now we move on to the contract with HFI, yes.
Staff recommends approval of the service agreement with Herbaceous, Inc. to provide HVAC maintenance and repairs at the Banneker Community Center and the Allison Jukebox Building. The total dollar amount of the contract is $4,000, and Banneker and AJB, along with other department facilities, have contracted with Herbaceous for many years and have included significant HVAC repairs at both Banneker and the AJB within the last 2 years. This agreement has been increased from 2019 to provide extra support should further repairs be needed. It also has a renewal clause should both parties agree to extend on a yearly basis for up to 3 years.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions or comments about the HFI contract?
No.
No?
Okay,
Right.
no questions or comments from Les or Israel about the contract. So Les, could we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll move approval.
Okay, and a second?
Second from Israel?
All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, motion carried. We have all three votes on the contract with HFI. And this is your day, Becky. One more. Service agreement with Education Furniture.
Thank you. Staff recommends approval of the service agreement with Educational Furniture to deliver and install furniture, cabinetry, and countertops at the Banneker Community Center. The Parks and Recreation Department received a grant funding from Regional Opportunity Initiatives, Inc., to provide facility and program upgrades within the Banneker Community Center. Funding calls for the purchase of mobile tables and chairs along with cabinetry and countertops throughout the facility. This total contract is for $45,000.
Okay, so new furniture at the Banneker Center. Any questions or comments from Les or Israel?
No, I'd just like to say a big thank you to Regional Opportunity Initiative. That's a very nice grant.
So Les said he wanted to say thank you to Regional Opportunities Initiative. Okay. Yeah. All right. And yes, Israel, any comments or questions?
No comment, no question.
Okay.
No.
All right, Israel has no question. I'm sorry, Les, did you have another comment?
I so move.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion to approve this item.
Second.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second for the service agreement with Education Furniture. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, motion carried, three yes votes. All right, thank you, Becky. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, and then Paula, again, if you're seeing the full agenda, we'll come back to some of these other items in April, and hopefully the world will be more normal then. And Dave's going to fill in, okay, for review of contract with Ecologic.
Good afternoon, Dave Williams, Operations Director, subbing for Steve Cotter, Natural Resources Manager. We are requesting approval for an $8,986 contract with Ecologic, who has been our go-to consultant with regard to inventorying herbaceous and woody plants in the Griffy Lake Nature Preserve. We've done this several times. It gives us data that we can better gauge whether the deer controls at Griffy Lake have been successful or not based on the survivability of these plants. There would be a spring inventory of spring herbaceous plants and then a late summer inventory of woody plants with the final work and reporting data to be completed by the end of the year.
Okay. And obviously very important to keep checking back there at Lake Griffy and see if the plants are recovering.
Best indication as to how the deer browse effect is on Griffy Lake, yes.
Right. Okay. Excellent. All right. Any questions from Les or Israel about the contract with Ecologic?
I have none. They've been a good, reliable service provider.
All right. Les says they've provided very reliable service over the years, which is true. Yes. Israel, any questions or comments?
No question.
No questions from Israel. So a motion from Les?
I move that we approve the contract with Ecologic.
All right.
I second.
Okay, and we have a motion and a second for the contract with Ecologic. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
We have 3 yes votes on that contract. Motion passes. All right, great, thank you. And now we have the review of the partnership agreement with Buskirk Chumley Theater Management. Paula's going to disinfect, and then she'll be at the mic.
That's better. Good afternoon, Paula McDevitt, Director of the City of Bloomington Parks and Recreation Department. And I am here to recommend the approval of the 2020 Management Partnership Agreement with Buskirk Chumley Theater Management, Inc., to manage the Buskirk Chumley Theater. We've been here, I think, monthly this year, extending this contract, so I'm pleased to be here today to present the 2020 Partnership Agreement. We have been in partnership since the renovation back in 1999. It's a very good working arrangement in that BCTM manages the day-to-day operations. They run the theater, and the city's involvement is sort of what I call the background support in facility issues and just guiding them through the process, and allows us to do what we continue to do and management company to run the theater. I want to cover the funding components to this partnership agreement. Funding will be provided through the 2020 City Council budget to assist BCTM with duties related to their operation of the theater, and this funding will be in the amount of $55,000. The Parks Operation Division General Fund will fund up to $15,000 for eligible facility maintenance repairs that are brought to our attention by BCTM. And then the final pot of funding will come from the Redevelopment Commission for the amount of $74,000 for building-related improvements. The partnership agreement comes before Park Board for our part of the funding, and then we will also be going to the Redevelopment Commission for their approval and the Public Works Board for the funding that's running through the council office. The other noteworthy piece of change for this year is actually the total support is a slight decrease from 2019. And it is a total support for Buskirk Chumley Theater in 2020 will be $144,000, a decrease of $3,200 over the 2019 funding. And it continues to operate with the city team meeting quarterly. Those dates are outlined in the partnership agreement, so lines of communication are open and operating. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, I realize that's a small amount down. You said $3,200, but is there a specific reason for that, or?
Yes, and actually it was from the Parks General Fund. Last year we had that difference. It was about $18,700 because we replaced carpeting for them, and that was a specific targeted improvement that they had requested. And this year we put $15,000 in our budget, and it's, as you can tell, more open-ended for any eligible facility maintenance repairs.
Okay. All right, great. Very important, longstanding partnership with Buskirk Chumley Theater Management. Any questions or comments from Les or Israel?
None to me.
So right?
Okay,
the
no
amount
question.
would be,
Oh,
I have funding from 2019 for park and right?
okay.
That was the funding.
I couldn't quite understand the question, Israel. Can you repeat it again, please?
The amount will be the amount of $5,500 for 2019.
Yes, I think I understood the question to be, is the $55,000 the same amount that was funded in 2019? And yes, it is. It was $55,000 in 2019, and it will be $55,000 through the council office budget in 2020.
Okay, perfect.
All right, so for people watching, Israel just asked about the budget amount, if it were the same, and Paula McDevitt replied that it is. And do we have any other comments or questions about this item?
No.
No more questions.
All right,
It's
both,
a great job about the Buskirk family, so
okay.
it would be
And
great.
Israel commented that it's a great job with the Buskirk Chumley Theater Management. I think I got that right. Yes, okay. So, Les, do we have a motion for this item?
I so move.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Les for approval and a second from Israel. So all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And that motion carries on 3 yes votes. All right, and then finally we have the review of the Beeline trademark usage request from Paula.
Yes, thank you. Again, Paula McDevitt, Director of the Parks Department, and I'm here to recommend approval of the trademark license agreement with the Bloomington Creative Glass Center. I'll go through my report and then also read their request letter that they sent in. But the city's trademark Beeline and Beeline Trail was done back in 2006, and we renew that trademark every 5 years. The department uses the Beeline logo and name on marketing items and print materials to promote the trail. The Bloomington Creative Glass Center is coordinating a new monthly experience-based arts event along the southern end of Beeline Trail from 2nd Street to Grimes. And participants will be encouraged to walk along the Beeline Trail and experience various artistic demonstrations. The event is planned for the first Saturday of the month, April through October, but that has since been adjusted to May through October, but the second Saturday. And BCGC is requesting the use of the Beeline trademark to call the event Beeline Rambles, a name that both denotes the location of the event and what the participants will be doing. Our procedure and process for entertaining these requests is for to receive a letter from the requester, so I'd like to read that quickly here. To whom it may concern, the Bloomington Creative Glass Center is collaborating with the support of City of Bloomington Parks and Recreation, Artesian Alley, Cardinal Spirits, and other businesses on the southern end of the Beeline Trail to create a new monthly experience based on arts events. During this recurring event, visitors will be encouraged to walk down the southern end of the Beeline Trail and experience various artistic demonstrations from glass blowing at the BCGC, live music at Cardinal Spirits, and poetry readings at Hopscotch Coffee. We also plan to have local food trucks available to provide food and drinks for visitors. The event is planned for the first Saturday of every month from April to October, now May to October, with an anticipated launch date, which has been adjusted to May now. We are planning to call this event Beeline Rambles, a name that gives both the location and evokes what we hope the participants will do. Our goal is to bring more visibility to the exciting things happening south of downtown and to draw more people to the Switchyard Park area. We understand that the Beeline is trademarked, so we are asking your permission to use the name for our event. Please feel free to reach out to Abby Glitz or myself for more information, and we hope to hear from you soon. Sincerely, Jillian Campbell from the Glass Center. So when we receive a request like this, legal drafts a trademark licensing agreement. We did one of these a couple years ago with Beeline Heights, same arrangement, just outlining how they will be able to use Beeline in their marketing. We will approve all of that before they put it out, and this agreement would expire at the end of their event this year in October of 2020. So if they are successful and they want to repeat the event next year, they would have to come back for this approval. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for the background explanation on that. It sounds great. I like the name, Rambles, and it's a thing you can do outside, which is a good thing right now. So, all right, any questions or comments from Les or Israel about item C22?
I think it's a totally appropriate use as a trademark. Exciting event.
Les says it's a totally appropriate use of the trademark, and it sounds exciting. And Israel, any questions or comments?
I have a question. So it is, it will start the first Saturday until October, right? Here.
Yes, so the question was when the start date is and the end date, and it was supposed to start in April, which has been adjusted to May, and then the end date is October.
So my question is if we are that maybe April, May, maybe June won't take place, right?
I'm not sure. I'm sorry, can you repeat the question one more time?
What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Israel, can you repeat the question one more time?
So it says that it will take place the first Saturday of the month April to October. So in case April, May, June, or we don't know, will be postponed, right?
Paula, so the question is about the start date and do you want to respond to that? Or?
Right, so I have been emailing with Jill because of these events, and they are delaying the event until May. And they're asking that they wanted us to keep this on the agenda so that they would then have the ability to market the event for the start in May. And of course, they will adjust that date if circumstances dictate that needs to be done.
Okay, all right. Does that answer your question, Israel?
Can you repeat the answer?
Does you want me to repeat it?
Yes, could maybe repeat it, yes.
Sure. The organizers have moved the start date until May due to the circumstances that we find ourselves in. So they would like this approval done at this meeting so that they can get their marketing materials together in the month of April and be ready to hold their first Beeline Rambles in May.
Okay. No more.
Okay, all right, so, all right, thank you, Israel. So Israel says that answers his question, and so do we have a motion on the Beeline trademark usage request, Les?
Be it so moved.
Les has moved approval of the trademark usage request, and Israel has seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And the motion carries with 3 yes votes. All right, so that is our truncated agenda. We have no reports today. Paula, do you have anything else you want to tell us?
Well, thank you, everyone, for tuning in and for rolling with us and being flexible through our first launch of this type of a meeting. Both Israel and Les, good to see your faces up there, and for Kathleen for driving the car here this afternoon. I just want to take the opportunity to communicate that the Parks Department, along with all city departments, are working together and responding to guidelines and regulations that are coming down fast and furiously. Communication is ongoing. I would like to take the opportunity to commend our staff in the Parks Department who have responded to all kinds of requests for information that I've been launching out, but really with our focus on communication. Our social media team, headed up by Julie Ramey, is continuing to message our latest closures, cancellations, plans, precautions that we're taking, and we look forward to, one day that we're back in operational. But in the meantime, the Parks Department is encouraging people to take breaks outside. So our trails are open. I myself have gone out every day, no matter what the weather is, but to get outside, walk our trails, spend time in the green space, exercising precaution, distancing yourself, and I'll take the opportunity to say our biggest, newest change that people will say under the new regulations is that we are closing our playgrounds, and we'll be messaging out about that, but that will be a very visible change with signage up and caution tape around, and we look forward to the day when we can take that all down. But for now, we just want to thank our community for the support to stay safe and healthy, and we watch our Facebook and our social media for the latest updates.
Okay, yes, and I certainly second. I've seen so many people out on trails and parks in the last week, and I think people are incredibly grateful, especially now that those spaces are there. So, yeah, and I have also seen the advice I've seen in other cities about the playgrounds closing advice, so.
And I will say, too, our health and wellness coordinator, Jess Klein, who is a public health professional, is just in touch with all kinds of departments across the country in how they are dealing with it. We have really good information. We're sharing what we're doing, so that network is really, really working hard, and she is updating that hourly. So we're really pulling from what our colleagues across the country are doing as well.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you very much. Thank you to Israel and Les for phoning in.
Thank you, Kathleen, for a nice job.
Thank you.
All right, so we are adjourned for our March meeting.